Franz Experience. I'm your host, Franz, and if this is your first time viewing with us, please go ahead and subscribe at www.thefranzexperience.life, where we believe you were definitely bumped on course. Please also follow us on Instagram. We're on TikTok, Facebook, a lot of the social media platforms for your likings, and also on YouTube. So I have a special guest with me here today, famous award-winning actor Shaun Woodland. He has been in The Purge, the first Purge. He's also been in Unarmed Man. He's been on The Firm. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy is constantly doing films. Not only is he doing films, he is a Spanish teacher and also a football coach for DBs, defensive backs, for those of us who are not sure what a DB is. I'm a football mom, so I know about the DB, defensive backs coaching. And I'm telling you, he has a full schedule. Not only is he doing that, he is in school for his master's. Is that right, Shaun?
Yeah. I'm trying to make it happen.
Let's sum it up. So I'm really excited to have him on board because, listen, just hearing myself say all those things, how is this possible? But first, welcome, Shaun. And thank you so much for finding the time to be on the Franz Experience. And I'm sure my viewers are really excited to have you here as well. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. You were far too kind with your introduction. I'm not that not that important at all. But thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate the humbleness, and that's usually how it. Well, you have quite a few individuals who are very humble, and I must say you're a very good person. Your personality is amazing, and you have a humble heart, and you somehow just get it all done. So, Shaun, tell our viewers. He's also from Baltimore, so tell our viewers a little bit about how you got started. What inspired you to do so many things? I'm going to start with football, since I mean I love acting and so forth, but football is something near and dear to me. So tell me a little bit about how you got started with football. Tell our viewers how you got started.
Football. Growing up in Baltimore, in the West Baltimore area I grew up, you fall in love with either football or basketball. In my case, I love both. I played a lot of street football as a youngster, not really much organized football until I got to maybe middle school. But I kind of gravitated back towards it because of what happened in my high school football career. And when I got to high school, my best friend in middle school, we played running back together. He got expelled or asked to leave the school, so I kind of got disenchanted and didn't want to start coming back in during the summer. So I quit football in my freshman and sophomore years. But I missed it so much that I started playing again, and I just got but it wasn't. I had a great experience, but it wasn't ideally what I wanted it to be because I missed so much time. So I went to a college where there was no football team. So I just up in New York, so I just ended up missing it so much. And in college, I studied the music business, but this is back when all the digital platforms like Napster and stuff started to impact the music industry. So there was kind of no jobs or anything going on happening in the business. So I came back to Baltimore, and my high school coach was still coaching, and he asked me if I wanted to help out and offered me a job, just kind of as an assistant. And then I kind of gravitated towards helping out with the defensive backs and kind of been doing it ever since. But now it's kind of shifted. It's not more or less about me or my career. It's about helping young kids reach their goals or goals that I may have had in football and, not have realized or reached. So that's kind of my journey into it. So I've been coaching for some years now. I'm at
which school do you coach at, Shaun? Which school?
School called St. Francis Academy. It's in East Baltimore. It's kind of like a historically Black high school. It was started in 1828. It's older than any HBCU by a nun from Cuba, Mother Mary Lang, who came to Baltimore and bought some land near a cemetery to educate children of slaves, or for children where it was illegal for them to learn to read. And So that's kind of how the school got started. So it's been around forever. I've been there coaching about 5, 6 years and teaching for about 4. So I started out there coaching. Now I'm teaching and coaching there, and we got a pretty good team. If anybody's interested in finding out a little bit about the program, there's a HBO documentary called "The Cost of Winning." It's on, I think it's on HBO Max, but it was produced by Michael Strahan, and it documented our season the year prior to COVID. So it just follows a few of our kids around and, kind of highlights what they deal with and the struggles they face and the struggles we face as a program and, trying to realize success for those kids.
And I remember hearing and following also, it was very exciting. I followed some of the games and actually saw, these are really bright students, and they're very engaged, and it's great to see that you're interacting and giving back in that form, and realizing that it's not necessarily about me anymore, right? That is a big thing, that one of the reasons why I do the show, the Franz Experience, is because it's not about me, it's about uplifting. And I look to individuals like yourself to just share with the world, hey, listen, we do want to leave something here for our youth, and we want to give a part of ourselves, a bigger part of ourselves than we do give to ourselves. And it's about uplifting them, building them, making them empowered. If it's just one sentence that gets them on through the next couple of months, and then another sentence or one word, whatever it takes, so that they don't stop. Because there's so much going on nowadays, right? There's so much going on to keep them disengaged. It's unfortunate that you ended up stopping, but then it just couldn't stop your passion, right? You just have this passion for football, and so you're still very much involved. And so I thank you for that, because sports does do. As a sports mom and a football mom, I think there's a whole nother side of a family when it comes to sports. It does actually help. I believe it helps. I played sports myself, but I think it does actually help transition you in the day-to-day between teams, teamwork, between, just being a rookie about things. And these whole processes we need in our regular day-to-day life. So I thank you for giving that time to our youth, and also still not only just that, you're actually finding time as well for yourself. So as you're teaching Espanol, Spanish, to your students, you're also going back to school. It's like, hey, what else can I add to my plate? Let me try this, right? And I'm sure it's pretty intense. So what is that like, between being an actor, learning scripts, working on auditions? What is it like doing all these things? And I know football season is pretty intense. So how are you doing all of these things and managing your schooling and your master's program?
Just rolling, I guess, figuring it out as I go along. There's been some hiccups because stuff can get really busy. Auditioning can be sporadic. Some week you may have no auditions, and some you may have 2 or 3, and you never know how much material you got to memorize. So it is what it is. I actually gotten a little behind on grad school work. I finally got caught up this past weekend, but it can get tough and difficult. But I've kind of found a rhythm, especially with teaching. This has been like my 4th year there, so I've got all my lesson plans and stuff already ready before the year starts, so that makes that a little easier. But it definitely can get hectic at times, but I still manage.
I'm sure. So are you all 100% back to being in school since COVID? Are you all still teaching, doing some virtual and in person, or are you completely in person?
No, we're completely in person this year.
Okay.
Last year was kind of a hybrid. They gave I think parents had the option, so the school was like at maybe like 15% capacity, and everybody else was home. So I would only have like 2 or 3 children in the classroom, and maybe like 14 or so virtual. But this year, everybody's back in the building. Luckily, we haven't had any outbreaks within the school. I mean, I think some kids are, maybe teachers have gotten sick, but no, it hasn't spread. It's been caught, luckily. So it's been so far so good this year.
Well, that's good. How are the kids? How have they been
We
since
did have
they?
one game canceled because of COVID, but
Okay. Oh,
that's comes with the territories these days.
sure. Sure. There are a lot of moving parts, I'm sure. I mean, on a regular day to day in the office, there's a lot of different challenges, but you overcome them. But when it comes to the students, how were they when they came back to school? Were they, excited about being back, not excited about the masks, or, what was that
Yeah,
transition like?
they're always the posturing. They never like being in school, but you can tell they are enjoying being back around each other and interacting with each other. So the main thing is they're kids, so they sometimes the protocols just go out. We got to remember. I'm constantly reminding people to distance or pull your mask up and stuff like that. But they're kids, so they forget sometimes. But it's been okay so far.
Okay. Well, it's always interesting to hear about. There's multiple areas there that I love, which is, the acting portion, the, grad school education factors, which I also love, and as well as that sports, right, football. So looking back at how you got started, a lot about the Franz Experience is about, how we take unforeseen circumstances and we use them as fuel, and we pretty much feel that we were all bumped on course. Do you have one or two things that you feel that occurred in your life, good, bad, or indifferent, that has pretty much bumped you on course and has made you who you are today?
Relative to
Say it again.
relative to acting, you mean? Or
Acting, anything that you're currently doing. If you want to, do something small, if it's acting, if it's sports, if it's teaching, just the things that have gotten you where you are today. What was that one or two things that occurred?
let me think on that. That was maybe I got one or two things. Like I've always had in life, I guess my father, he had been in prison since I was like 2 or 3 years old, and he had, it's been like something hanging over me my entire life. So a few years ago, I got him a lawyer to try and go through an appeals process, and it took some years, but about 6 months ago in June, he got out. So that's been a big burden in my life. But the I guess the lessons he's taught me is to kind of have a different perspective on life. Things could always be worse, because when I first started out with acting, I had like it was funny. I had my first audition. I had really no experience with acting. Maybe a drama class or two here in high school. But when I graduated from college, I came back down here and The Wire was shooting. And I figured out how to get headshots and auditions, and I submitted. It was my first audition any time for anything, and I booked it. So after that, I thought like, wow, Hollywood's gonna come calling. This is easy. This is gonna be sweet. And it was like the complete opposite of that. I could not find auditions. It was just difficult to even try and get work or try and get opportunities. And the whole process of trying to become an actor got really frustrating, to the point that I was just ready to quit. And I did a NYU student film. I was lucky enough to get a lead role in. I worked with this young actor, Siddiqui Fofana, and he's passed away since then. He had sickle cell. He died from complications of sickle cell. But we were up doing some audio, some dialogue replacement up in New York City, and I was just telling him how frustrated I was with things, and I was just thinking about quitting, and he was just such a gentle soul, and he just kind of, looked me in my eyes, put his hand on me, and like, just what in as far as acting is like, that's not why you're here. What's meant to be for you is going to be for you, and you just have to understand that, and kind of, you know gain a new perspective on life. So I was kind of frustrated before, where I was frustrated that things weren't going my way. Now I'm just thankful for opportunities that are going my way. He was such a talented guy, and such a tragic loss, to lose him. But he really impacted me as far as my perspective going in this business, because it's a tough business, and sometimes you got to reconcile with the fact that you may never get your big break or the big opportunity that you're looking for. And I had to ask myself, do you want to continue doing this? Like, what do you want out of this? Do you just want to be famous and rich? And I just sat with myself and decided, I just want to be a good or a great actor. And so I kind of take that into any opportunity I may get, and just do what I'm supposed to do. Could try and connect with people and audiences, and just move on, and what will be. So it's a lot more fun now than it used to be. It used to be a really frustrating process trying to figure out. I still haven't figured anything out. I'm still, learning and trying to grow, but it's mentally I'm in a lot better space with it. So those two things, and I learned that from my father. When I would be going through little things and feeling selfish about it, he was like, I look at his situation and realize how, thankful I could be. And I'm free. I have a roof over my head, food in my stomach, that type of mentality, as opposed to, thinking that everything's supposed to come to me or expecting, so I'd say that those two things would probably be some things that stick out, at least.
So, very directly affecting you, with your father being incarcerated, and his constant word of saying, it could be worse. You could be in here. You could be, you could not be here at all on this earth. And I could understand why you have such a drive to do so many things, to accomplish so much. And not just that, right? And now things have been better, correct? He's now out. Is that correct? He's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. And how is that seeing him? I'm sure that was amazing, just to be able to hug him and just be around him, and spend that type of time with him. It's not,
Yeah.
it's a
I'm
lot of
sorry.
years. That's okay. It's a lot of years that you don't get back, but I'm sure at that moment that you actually got to hug him outside of those walls. What was that like, Shaun?
Um, it was surreal, honestly. It was, that was one of those days that you never know that was going to be possible. So I was, because we had gone through that process before and been denied by judges and so on and so forth. So I was kind of preparing for the worst, or as I had before. But I don't know, it was a Zoom hearing, and the judge was sympathetic and just gave him time served, and then he was out the next day. So it was just kind of surreal. Seeing him, on the day to day is that's surreal, because it's something that I've never used to. Because he was, I think he went in when I was 2 or 3. I don't even remember that time. So only memory I had of him being in prison. So seeing him outside of prison is just surreal on a daily basis. I'm still, I don't know, processing it, but it's good surreal. But it's,
We have so many that without both parents in a household, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of parents, either one is incarcerated, and a lot of kids spend their lifetime not seeing or meeting or ever seeing their parent or guardian, whomever it is. And not just even through incarceration, but just not being around or whatever the case may be. And the likeliness of those particular individuals to keep straight on a straight path of I'm getting my education. Um, I'm going back to coaching or being involved in sports and football. Do you think that there's what would be one thing that you would say to our youth if you could think back, and it wasn't far ago that you had to think back to, but if you had to think back, what would be one or two things that you would share with our young men and also our young women, but more relating to the men? Um, what would be one thing or two things that you would share to say, hey, keep your head up, keep focused about your goals, that would pretty much encourage them to continue on their path and not from thinking and having that hanging over them on, previous things, whether or not things happen in the household or just life in general. What would be those one or two things you would share with them?
I don't know, that's a tough one. I guess I would say, initially, things that can happen to you, a lot of times you can feel like you're cursed, or you see no way out, or just there's so many distractions, especially youth nowadays. There's so many distractions and so much that they deal with. I just would encourage them to take a kind of macro perspective on life and kind of always look at the big picture. Don't get focused on. I mean, it's you can't. It's hard to impart that on youth if they have girlfriend issues or a problem with a friend. It seems like the biggest thing in the world to them because they don't have any experience. They've been on Earth about 10, 15, 15, 16 years, and they, that's all they know. They think it's so big, but getting to my age, you learn that those things won't make or break you. And, I try to encourage them to have, always keep the big picture in mind and don't get bogged down by, things that happen to you or little stuff. There's nothing you can't overcome, without, if you keep that bigger picture in mind, or if you have some goals for yourself or something that you want to accomplish, or something that you want out of life, focus on that, and let the small stuff kind of wash away. But it's hard to impart that on someone when they're going through what they're going through. But that's what I try to do if
Sure.
children are experiencing tough times.
So, since you've worked on many different films, is there a particular project that you're currently working on and have been working on? There's a latest movie that you've been working with, and if you could just share with us how that actually was going or is going.
I guess we're still in the pandemic. I shot a film called The Forgettable Life of Liam White. It's from writer-director Harold Jackson, who I've worked with a couple times before. I did a film called Unarmed Man with him in the past. But anyway, Forgettable Liam White. I play Liam. It's about a writer who is fairly successful but kind of disenchanted with life and his relationships, and he ended up finding out that he's been diagnosed with cancer, and he has limited time. He has limited time, so Liam has to kind of take stock of his life and evaluate his relationships and what's meaningful to him, and kind of find some truth and reconciliation in his life before before his time is up. The film is not necessarily about cancer or anything. It's kind of about that journey that we all have to face. Some of us, and in his instance, like it is for a lot of us, it's too late to say those things that we want to say to the people we love. But he is, he's placed with a concrete time frame, so he's kind of forced into that, those situations that a lot of us avoid in life. It stars myself. Jasmine Guy is in the film. She plays my mother. T.C. Carson, who people may know from Living Single, plays my father, and there are a bunch of other talented actors in there. Brave Williams, who's a talented actress and singer out of Baltimore. Sasha Wakefield, a talented actress from Richmond. Karan Joseph Riley, who you guys may have seen in numerous things. He's always working. So yeah, Liam White. We're still on the festival run, ABFF. So we're one of the feature films selected. And if anybody wants to check it out, you can log on to abffplay.com and register. There are instructions on how to watch the film, depending on what platform you're using to watch, like streaming or whatever you prefer. So it's running from November 3rd through November 28th, and then after that it should be out for distribution. I'm not sure of all the details yet. And there's another show, an HBO show, a miniseries actually coming out sometime next year called We Own the City. It's kind of like a police drama, loosely based on true events. Kind of after the Freddie Gray riots, there was a task force in Baltimore that was I think it was called the Gun Trace Task Force, that was tasked with getting guns off the street. But anyway, the police officers within the task force were just up to all kinds of stuff, and so it chronicles the story of that. Most of the group ended up getting indicted or in prison now, but it's the story of that task force and kind of what happened in Baltimore post Freddie Gray riots. And yeah, those two things I'm looking forward to watching it myself. I was really interested in the story. But yeah, those two things are things I'm currently working on. But other than that, just plugging away, taking it day by day.
Is there that's amazing. First, excuse me, I have a little bit of a cough here. Is there any particular, so I noticed, and maybe there's no pattern, but you like to play in films that have some form of justice or some true story, or Unarmed Man, great film. You did a wonderful job there. But in the character roles, it's like it seems like you're playing the roles of individuals, and I may be reaching here, but you're playing individuals who have in some form or fashion experienced some injustice, and being the detective was pretty intimidated myself. If you would ask me a few questions, I would have told the truth on everything. I'm just kidding, but no, I would have told the truth. But is there a pattern of things that you like to look into playing, or is it just this character seems like it's something I want to get into, or it's challenging, I want to try that, or tell us about that, about the roles. Is there any particular thing you lean more towards?
Well, honestly, I'm not at that point in my career where I can choose the stuff I want to do. You know what I mean? I take whatever comes my way. Honestly, with those roles, I'm probably lucky that I met Harold and developed a relationship with him. He's such a talented writer, and he writes and directs the film. So I don't know, maybe he sees those types of roles for me, or thinks that I can bring life to those type of characters. But I'm appreciative that he believes in me. And anytime he does send me a script, it's very it's challenging. It's kind of it's difficult material in it. But that's, as an actor, that's what you sign up for. That's what you want. Those types of roles. So I feel lucky to have come across him, and I feel like I've grown as an actor, kind of working on his films. But I don't choose it. I take whatever comes my way. I'll audition for. I'm not choosing anything. But yeah, I do definitely like to be challenged. But that just happens to be those are the roles that Harold has written, or I don't know if he wrote it with me in mind or what. But he's we've developed a relationship and kind of a good working rapport. So I feel like I can get him what he needs, and he believes in me. So we just roll with that in mind.
Well, please tell him they're amazing. I enjoy them
I will
very much. So with these particular projects that you're working on in the life of Liam, um, have you taken that and and I'm sure you have incorporated this in your regular day to day, taking on that role and here's this guy who's a writer and he ends up with cancer and he wishes he could have said some things, done some things, and he doesn't have that time. Do you feel that that is something that you really, that kind of hit you deep and said, I want to make sure that I do this or do that? Like, has it really, sunken into your day to day? Because I'm sure some roles it's just, I'm acting, right? This isn't say it's how I am or any of those things. But do you think some of that has seeped into you as Shaun Woodland?
I would say, yeah. I mean, it's the source material in itself. It kind of makes you reconcile with that. You kind of anybody who's watching it or dealing with that situation, you would kind of apply it to yourself. What would I do in those situations where we have those type of difficult relationships that we have found difficult to patch up? So you kind of just maybe take inventory of your life, and like I was saying earlier, just look at the big picture and not let petty disagreements or squabbles ruin a friendship or relationship if you feel the friendship is worth it to you. So yeah, I guess I learned that. I mean, I was trying to do that in my life, but playing that role really made you think about it or grapple with it and kind of make a decision on how you want to handle those situations, I guess.
Sure. And in that role, I mean, again, it's not speaking to Liam, but in that role, what do you think? Like, I mean, no one says, okay, now I have cancer. It's like, oh, well, there's something good that's going to come on. It's cancer. It's not good. Do you think though, um, at that point of someone going through something so horrible, unthinkable, was there a moment that you realized that that character or that person had a bumped on course moment? Because again, a lot of the bumped on course is about, being molded. We go through these horrible, unthinkable moments in life. And sometimes through that process, we have a choice to either feel that we're going to be in this distraught moment, or we feel that we're going to be empowered to make a change. We're going to, for the time that we have left, the grace of feeling that we may have some time left, another day or so, to feel that, what was that moment in that role or in that person's life that he said, okay, I have cancer, which many of the people that we know and just directly or indirectly have, just horrible. Do you think that there was a moment that he felt that throughout this, he had a bumped on course moment?
I don't know. I mean, the moment he finds out that he doesn't have time to live, it doesn't bump him on course, but it's kind of the catalyst to get things going. I think the character had to, there was only so much he can control, right? So he had to just find out where his power was in the situation. And I think that manifested in, just taking an assessment of what was important to him, what had been bothering him, and kind of trying to get to the bottom of it. As far as relationships, he had difficult relationships with both parents, so he had to try and reconcile that before time was up, and just controlling what he could, and then making a heartfelt assessment, and then finding peace with those decisions. And So I don't know. The diagnosis was maybe the catalyst. I don't know if there was one particular point. It was just kind of like a journey, I'd say. But
And
it
again,
was sparked on by the catalyst, which was the diagnosis.
and I think that you know, I can appreciate how he saw some power. He was able to somehow grab a little bit of the power through the pain and say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I can manage what I can manage. I can stay in this bed every day and not get up, not do another thing. And if that was his choice, that would be okay for him, right? If that was his choice. But he decided to be in his power, what power he could muster. Because again, it's not easy going through anything traumatic, not easy at all. And God help the person that says, oh, that was for a reason. Like, are you kidding me? There's no reason that somebody has cancer or an ailment or traumas. There is, I have another day. There is, I have another year. There is, I have another month. There is, I have survived that. There's other avenues which we can then look at after we've kind of healed. And sometimes people don't necessarily heal from it. But we can look at, okay, I'm in this space. Now what? What can I do? Right? So, and I'm sure it just seems sad, but very empowering at the same time. But throughout this and all these roles that you've played, and then you have to transition back into the defensive back role, you know, the DB coach, and get back into your studies. I mean, that's quite the emotional roller coaster. How do you transition those mindsets within yourself? How do you transition those emotional roller coasters of being the teacher, being the coach, being the actor, being the student? You know, how do you do that?
I don't know. I just try and stay even keeled. I don't try not to get too high or low about any of it. And as far as transitioning from one to another, it's just I don't know. I just do it. It just has to be done. I don't, and in football, that football is fun. You know, it's not difficult. Like being with the kids or being around the kids is it's fun to me at this point. I know teaching can be a stressful job, but I don't really get too stressed out in like maybe the first couple years, but I kind of found the groove as far as that goes. And so that's fun. It's kind of more like a respite or relief, it's just watching kids interact is funny to me. So I probably need that sometimes, just a break. But yeah, it's transitioning from one thing to another. It's just what I've been doing, so I'm used to it, I guess.
I think that overall balance. So I think because of the demeanor that you currently have helps, like you say, you stay pretty balanced in your energies and your day to day. So there's no major like big time highs. As you're pretty much even killed. So that way, the transition from the up and down is pretty close on the median, right? It's staying within reason and balance. So, well, I think that pretty much explains like why you're able to do so many things. So what do you see yourself doing within the next 3 to 5 years? Where do you see yourself, Shaun?
Career wise, I don't even like to think about, I mean, just take the opportunities as they come. Hopefully, like, if I get bogged down in that stuff, I can go back to how I used to feel when I first started out acting. Like, oh, it hasn't happened for you yet. Is it ever gonna happen? Like, I don't care. I'm just enjoying my life. There's an old, I forgot what show it was from, but it's damn, maybe it was a Wire or something. But you just gotta enjoy life or have a life, and they said life is it's like life is the stuff that happens while you're waiting for moments that never come. Like, so it may or may not happen, but I just enjoy trying to enjoy my life and day to day, and what happens will happen, especially with career things. I don't get me wrong. I care. I work hard. I try and focus on it, but I only can like Liam or like whatever. I can control what I can control, and after that, I just let it go. I'm just trying to enjoy myself.
Well, speaking of that, so what does Shaun like to do outside of his many professions that you currently have? What do you like to do?
I mean, that my profession, that is kind of the stuff I do like to do. I mean,
Right.
outside of that, I do like downtime or traveling and going on vacation, but I enjoy acting. So when I get the opportunities, I I jump in. But damn, let me think. Maybe I need to get some more active, get a life outside of this stuff.
Oh, well, sometimes but I love the fact that you enjoy what you do. And so you're like, well, I specifically said professional career because I don't like to get tangled into the word work, right? Because people sometimes look at work as in something that you go to do outside of your day to day. Your day to day is what you enjoy doing, and I hope that many of our viewers are also in that space where um, whatever it is that you love to do, you should be doing that on a day to day. And for some, it's easier than others. But if you can do that, there is no work, right? It's just living. And so I can appreciate what you stated. But then I'm also like, okay, these sometimes can take on the roles of the work, right, of the job. Because again, doing a role, you need to learn it. You have to do all those things. Being in class, you have to pass it. You have to do the homework. Being in school, in teaching, you have to have your syllabuses ready and so forth. It's not like you can just say, okay, because you've committed to those things. But the things you don't necessarily have a commitment to, but you enjoy doing, what would be that? Is it yoga? Is it walking? Is it reading? Is it creating your own projects? Dancing, music,
Yeah, I feel you. I've written a little bit. I do want to get back into it, but I gotta work on, like with acting, I gotta work on my approach to it. It does give me anxiety, so it's not the most fun thing now at this point. And I do miss. I don't know. I need to work out more. I miss basketball. I haven't had the opportunity to play in a while, so I want to get back to that. But before it's too late and I can't move around anymore. So.
I think a lot of people stopped doing quite a bit of things they enjoy doing since COVID, but
Yeah. So I want to get back to that little more physical activity and maybe writing a little more. I just get some ideas down, get some stuff out of my head, and not be so hard on myself when I'm doing it.
understandable. So I'm sure with your full schedule and even though the season may stop through football, there's also the recruiting period time frame. You
Yeah,
got all kinds of things
well,
that it's a year-round thing. For some, they think it's just that, once that season is there, that's it, it's over. It's not a year-round thing. But it's probably not as intense as it is right this moment.
mhm.
So maybe, on a timeline frame, you just jotting it down or, getting your phone and, recording and getting those thoughts out of your head and bullet pointing it and just saying, I want to go back to that and send yourself an Outlook invite. But scheduling yourself some time. I realized somebody said to me, how much of a piece of the pie do you get or save or set aside for yourself? And your professional career could be half of that, or even 3/4 of that. But do you have a quarter of the pie for yourself? And if you do, what does that look like for Shaun? So that was a pretty good thing. And I tend to look at that and use that for myself personally, because again, we have a lot going on in our lives and projects that we want to, get involved in, but that has been pretty helpful. So I enjoyed basketball. I'm glad hopefully you'll get to play within the next 2 weeks. I'll have to check back in and say, Shaun, did you get to throw the ball around, dribble a little bit?
I was
And
going
maybe you got
to.
something, huh?
I said I was going to this week, but I tweaked my hamstring messing around with the kids at practice, so I had to postpone it. That's a problem. I just all these little nicks and injuries, but I don't know, I'll get back out there. I guess.
I'm sure
Just
you
gotta
will.
stretch.
I'm sure you will. Well, I enjoyed having you on the show, Shaun, but if there was one or two things that you would say to our viewers about, living your life and enjoying what you do and just viewing that big picture, what would be one or two things that you would say to our viewers to kind of keep them going and keep them inspired?
Um, there's a little motto I go by, but it has curse words, so I'll just kind of rephrase it. Like, don't sweat the small stuff. You know, enjoy your life, and I don't know, log on to abffplay.com and check out Liam White. Register November 3rd through the 28th. But yeah, forget the small stuff. Enjoy your life, and if it's not that big, let it go, and you'll find a lot more peace that way. I feel like.
Well, thank you, Shaun. And listening to you and interviewing you has been wonderful. And I'm sure our viewers enjoyed this moment with Shaun Woodland. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you again, Shaun, for joining us on the Franz Experience. You've heard it
Thank
here
you.
first.